What's up everybody, this is Mike, and in today's video we'll talk about the DJI Mavic Air and how to get the most cinematic shots possible with that amazing drone. I've been flying the Mavic Air for the past 5 or 6 months, I believe, and I'm really in love with that drone. I have managed to gather my favorite settings that I want to share with you and let you know how you can achieve some great shots with that drone. Before I start though, I want to give you guys a very quick heads up about the current giveaway that is going on my channel. I'm giving away a brand new Rise Tello drone. The $99 toy drone from Rise, Intel and DJI is currently up for a giveaway. And if you want to win it, just click on the first link in the description and I wish you the best of luck. Now that we have this out of the way, I want to share my favorite settings for filming with my DJI Mavic Air. I'm not saying those are the best settings, they are just my personal preference and they have become my foundation when I go out and start shooting. If you're new to my channel and you don't know how my videos look like, or you simply want to see some cinematic shots taken with the DJI Mavic Air, I am now going to roll some clips that I've shot ever since I got my DJI Mavic Air. I filmed in many different weather conditions, in snow, in rain, bright sunlight, or even some cloudy days, and the Mavic Air has performed tremendously so far. I really love it and I want to share some footage with you. So with that being said, let's see that footage. So hopefully you guys like this footage. I created it in a historical timeline, so the first shots were the ones that I have taken in my first couple of days owning the Mavic Air, and the last shots are one of my latest shots that I've taken with that drone. So that being said, now we are going to jump to the settings and I'll show you what settings I am using. I've come to this settings by trying different things and seeing what works for me and what doesn't. So like I mentioned earlier, those are definitely not the best settings, they are just my personal preference and I want to share them with you. Let's start off with the gimbal settings, as I believe those are one of the most important things you have to tweak to your own taste and make your footage buttery smooth and a lot more cinematic. So slow movement of the gimbal is key when you're filming a cinematic sequence with your drone. So you really have to think about moving the gimbal very slowly, make everything look buttery smooth and not have any sharp movements with your drone. That will ruin your whole footage, and I've lost so many amazing clips by just rotating the gimbal too quickly. So I've learned my lesson, and the key here is to keep the gimbal as smooth and as slow as possible. You don't want to overdo it though. You don't want to keep the gimbal speed to 1, because that will make it super slow, and that's not exactly what we're looking for. You have to keep it somewhere in the middle, or at least in the lower area of the gimbal speed. The first thing you need to make sure is that your gimbal is set to follow and not to FPV. Then once you go to the advanced settings of the gimbal, you can tweak the max gimbal pitch speed and the gimbal pitch smoothness. I keep my gimbal pitch speed to 9. You can choose between 1 and 100. So I am definitely keeping it on the lower section of this slider. And my gimbal pitch smoothness is at 10. You can choose between values between 0 and 30, and I found that 10 is fine for me. So those are my gimbal settings. They allow me to have some buttery smooth shots and movements in my footage and not ruin it by sharp movements at all. The next thing that I want to talk about is auto versus manual mode. I try to always shoot in manual mode unless it's an emergency situation and I really have to go up in the air and I don't have time to tweak any settings. Then I'll just select auto and shoot and hope for the best, but those are really not the best shots possible. So you have to use manual mode if you want to achieve some more cinematic footage. So as soon as you switch to manual mode, you have a couple of different settings to play with: ISO, shutter speed, and you have the exposure value on the bottom. I always keep my ISO to the lowest setting possible, which is 100, and then I tweak the rest of the settings afterwards. So I always choose ISO of 100, and unless it's dark outside and I'm trying to film a night shot, then I'll keep the ISO at 100. The next value we can change is the shutter speed, and this is the most important setting in my opinion. If you're filming in 24 or 25 frames per second, you have to choose 50 as your shutter speed. This is the 180-degree rule, which basically means you have to have a double shutter speed of your frame rate. It's very easy to understand. If you're filming in 30 frames per second, you have to choose 60 as your shutter speed. If you're filming in 24 or 25 frames per second, you have to choose 50 as your shutter speed. Then if you decide to switch to filming in 60 frames per second, your shutter becomes 120. That's just the regular 180-degree rule, which allows us to capture the most cinematic footage possible because it looks the best to the human eye. This is what we are most used to seeing around us. So this is what I'm always trying to achieve with my filming technique. If you're filming in bright sunny conditions, setting the shutter to 50 will make your whole image super bright, so you'll definitely need ND filters to reduce the light and use them as sunglasses for your drone. Ever since I got my Mavic Air, I'm using different ND filters, and they're a must-have accessory for flying and filming cinematic footage. So I'll definitely recommend you to get a pair of ND 16, 32 and 64 maybe if you're filming in the bright sun during the day. The best filters in my opinion are the ones from Polar Pro, and if you're looking for a photography set of filters, then you should definitely check out the Freewell filters that I have shown you on my channel. So I am basically using my Polar Pro filters, which are ND4, ND8 and ND16. I'm using them for video, and if I want to shoot photos, let's say long exposure photos, I am using my ND64, ND256, ND1000 or even ND2000. They are strictly for long exposure photos, which is a topic for another video. But that being said, ND filters are a must, so if you're looking to get more cinematic shots and using manual control for your camera, you definitely need to invest in some ND filters. As far as my other settings go, I'm always shooting in 24 frames per second. Like I mentioned, this is the most cinematic for me. I like the way 24 frames per second look. It's a bit more movie-like. It's not like 30 frames per second. And if you want to see the difference, I suggest you to shoot the same sequence with both 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second and then play it back on your computer. You'll definitely see the difference between the two shots. For video format, I always choose MOV. It's just because I work with Mac and MOV works best with Mac OS. For white balance, you always have to choose the right white balance setting according to the weather. So if it's sunny outside, set sunny as your white balance, or cloudy if it's cloudy outside. You can also choose the custom setting and adjust the white balance according to the sunlight around you. The next setting is called style, and I'm using my own values. It's 0, -1, -1. This gives me footage that is a bit more washed out, and it's perfect if you're looking to color grade it afterwards. That being said, I'm always shooting in Cine D. This is just perfect for my needs, as I always color correct my footage. I color grade it with the help of my own LUTs, which I'm going to release soon for all of you guys if you want to check them out. I will let you know once they are online. This allows me to create a shot that goes from this to this. And it's just the difference is so massive and it works so much better rather than filming in normal mode. I always prefer to stick to Cine D and then color correct the footage as I like. The last thing I want to mention is how I actually fly my drone. And I've learned that using cinematic mode and tripod mode is what makes all the difference. So if I'm flying in a very tight space and I'm looking to get something that is extremely smooth and slow moving, then I'm always going to go for a tripod mode and get that extra silky smooth shot. I really like this tripod mode and I'm using it more and more, to be honest. It's just very underrated in my opinion. So this shot, for example, is taken with tripod mode on, and it allows me to rotate the drone very slowly and achieve some great results, and I really love the way it looks. The other mode that I'm always using if I'm not looking for extremely slow and buttery shots is cinematic mode. The cinematic mode basically slows down the reaction speed of your control sticks. So if you release the sticks altogether, the drone will slowly stop and not stop immediately and give you that jittery footage. In the past, I didn't really love cinematic mode, but now I found my love for it and I'm definitely using it a lot. So basically, I'm trying to not use normal regular flying mode. I'm always either in tripod mode or cinematic mode. So those are my go-to modes for filming cinematic shots, and you should definitely give them a go if you're not using them. One small tip is to also use top fly. It's amazing. I've made a whole video about top fly and how you can incorporate it in your footage. So make sure you check it out. I will link it here in the cards and in the description below if you want to check it out. And that's basically it, guys. Those are my go-to settings for filming cinematic shots with my DJI Mavic Air. Please let me know in the comments below if you have enjoyed this video or the shots that you have seen. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them and I will be sure to reply as soon as I can. I'm off to Barcelona for a couple of days, so I won't be able to make any videos. Unfortunately, I won't be able to bring my drone to Barcelona as the rules are very strict there for flying a drone, so I will not even bring it with me. And that really sucks, but nothing that I can do, unfortunately. So anyway, that being said, I will be under the radar for the next couple of days, guys. But if you want to see what's going on with me, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Drone Supremacy. I will be active on my Instagram stories so you can see what's going on in Barcelona. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my future videos. And I'll see you in my next one. Ciao!